Here comes Zhou Guanyu down the main straight, was 16th, stays 16th, he's out of qualifying, no Q3 for Zhou Guanyu on this particular occasion. But Sebastian Vettel and Mick Schumacher are both putting in personal bests in each sector on their lap so far. Yuki Tsunoda crosses the line, stays 11th. Here's Mick Schumacher desperately trying to get out of the bottom six, as is, bottom five I should say, as is Lance Stroll, who's currently at the moment the man who's safest and is still safe, but on the cusp. No one improving their times until Mick Schumacher knocks Lance Stroll out. Schumacher goes 10th fastest. So, identical times for Pierre Gasly and Lance Stroll as Sebastian Vettel now goes 11th fastest. Well done to him, great lap. Kevin Magnussen, right at the end, puts in a lap that is 6th fastest, whilst his teammate Mick Schumacher is down in 11th. It's the top 6 for Mick Schumacher. Danny Rick, oh, hang on 2 seconds, as we watch Alexander Albon.
Schumacher's lost his time as well.
That's the spin for Alex Albon. But what we've got here is Daniel Ricciardo and Mick Schumacher both having a lap time deleted for exceeding track limits. Not good for Pierre Gasly. Lance Stroll complaining about traffic. Zhou Guanyu just couldn't improve. Mick Schumacher paid the penalty for exceeding track limits, and Nicholas Latifi slowest of all. Where does Sebastian Vettel jump to? Down the main straight we go. Stays outside the bottom 5. He just didn't have the grip in the final sector. Bottas goes 7th fastest overall.
Bottas had a shocking first sector as well, a 23.4 versus the quickest we've seen as a 22.6, 8/10 off the Ferrari.
Tsunoda goes 6th fastest. Was it shocking for Valtteri Bottas, or was he saving a bit in his tyres? Not pushing too hard, I wonder. Fernando Alonso goes 5th fastest overall. George Russell was 15th and he's now 6th. That pushes Bottas right to the cusp because Magnussen and Hamilton are still out there trying to improve their times. Valtteri Bottas is now out of the qualifying session because Daniel Ricciardo has just gone 9th fastest overall. So Esteban Ocon now is the man at risk. Kevin Magnussen will start at the back of the grid. Can he get into Q3? Yes, he can. He goes 7th fastest, puts Daniel Ricciardo at risk as Lewis Hamilton now to cross the line. Hamilton goes top 5. Ricciardo is out of qualifying. Norris is safely through. Ricciardo is out alongside Ocon and Bottas, Vettel and Albon.
For 27.8, Verstappen's down the mid-sector versus the 28.1 of Charles Leclerc, so the slipstream's not worked at the moment. It may work over the lap, but certainly not where the Ferrari wanted it with the intention.
Leclerc is now ahead of Carlos Sainz, as you would expect, a 1:31.6 for Sergio Perez, and we're on board with the Ferrari of Charles Leclerc. Fernando Alonso goes 1.8 seconds slower than Sergio Perez. Yuki Tsunoda goes a couple of tenths slower than Fernando Alonso. Charles Leclerc will now cross the line and will take provisional pole from Sergio Perez by about 0.4 of a second. So all attention now turns to Max Verstappen, who was ahead in the middle sector of the Ferrari, and Verstappen crosses the line, can only go 2nd fastest, but that's Ferrari with the tow getting a lap time that's only 8/1000ths of a second quicker than Max Verstappen. Hamilton goes 4th fastest ahead of Fernando Alonso and then Yuki Tsunoda, and we look back to George Russell, who replaces his teammate provisionally on the 2nd row by just a few 100ths of a second. Lando Norris goes 6th fastest.
Here's the slipstream coming up, so he's tows him all the way up through Cena, and I think he'll pull to the right at La Boussy. Yeah, I mean, that's absolutely spot on. It couldn't have been any better done, to be honest, from Carlos Sainz.
Because it's flat through Cena, that corner, the right-hander, then pulls to the right. Oh, it's almost like you told him what to do. 22.7 for the first sector for Sergio Perez, 23.1 for Fernando Alonso, and a 23.3 for Yuki Tsunoda.
That's very decent from Sergio Perez. That's a 10th quicker than he was able to do before, and that's what we're saying. That's where the evolution comes. That's where you need to start pushing the brake pedal a little bit harder, and there's Leclerc just done the best first sector of anybody, 0.01 up. You can see Sainz just up there in the distance, so they're going for the same strategy again, the tow from turn 9 all the way to turn 11. They're probably going to stay on board as well. And Verstappen, what's he been able to?
So Verstappen's down through that first sector. He's not replicated his first sector from beforehand. Charles Leclerc then with the edge currently has provisional pole and currently ahead in times on this final flying lap. There goes the tow that Carlos Sainz is giving Charles Leclerc, and once again he'll keep ahead through the seam corner and then back out into La Boussy.
And that's 2/10 up on what he was able to do before in the mid-sector, Crofty. So that's what he had to do, and he had to use that tow, so I would suspect he's going to be there. But Verstappen is 0.12 up as well. Probably not enough at this point, with that 27.8 in the mid-sector, only a 10th up on what Leclerc was able to do.
So it ain't over till it's over, but Verstappen's got it all to do here. The man on provisional pole is Charles Leclerc. He is looking good to retain that and keep it as well. Decent pace from the two Mercedes on this lap, and Hamilton ahead of George Russell by 0.3. Leclerc crosses the line, he's extended his advantage, gets a big cheer from the crowd. Charles Leclerc on provisional pole. Max Verstappen, 5 times this season, they have been first and second in qualifying, will make that 6, and it's Charles Leclerc on pole from Max Verstappen here at Paul Ricard. Lewis Hamilton, previous pole sitter here, gets onto the second row with his final run in that Mercedes. Can George Russell, his teammate at Mercedes, deny him? Russell crosses the line, no, stays 5th. Hamilton out-qualifies Russell, and that's 6 apiece in the Mercedes head-to-head battle. And then Lando Norris splits the two Mercedes and makes it 3 Brits in a row on the grid. Hamilton ahead of Norris, ahead of Russell. That is a fine lap from Lando Norris in a McLaren car that looks a lot better this weekend, it has to be said. Fernando Alonso, 7th fastest ahead of Yuki Tsunoda. Carlos Sainz didn't set a time, neither did Kevin Magnussen.